All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wonderful people. Welcome once again to Let's Talk TV. Now, straight up, welcome to the news update. All the trending issues, all the matter where they happen for Biafran territory. Without wasting much of your time, let us give you the first news, which we actually highlighted in the last video we dropped. Ipob threatens violence, alleges ethnic cleansing in Imo State. The news in detail. The indigenous people of Biafra IPOB has raised the alarm over what it described as the secret and indiscriminate elimination of Igbo youths, particularly in Orlu, Imo State. The pro-Biafran group, in a statement by its media and publicity secretary, Èkpá Powerful, titled Nigerian government is secretly silencing the southeast region, alleged that the Nigerian army and the Nigerian police were behind the dastardly act. The indigenous people of Biafra IPOB condemned the alleged indiscriminate and extrajudicial execution of Igbo youths across the southeast region, particularly in Orlu province of Imo State. The latest extrajudicial execution of some youths from Obidi Ogberuru of Ihite, Owerri in Orlu by soldiers is among the most horrible silent ethnic cleansing practices that the Nigerian government is sponsoring against Ndibo in the region. We continue with the news. These murdered youths were going about their normal business peacefully. Sadly, they were accosted by the soldiers on patrol and were shot dead for doing nothing. There are many unreported killings and forced disappearances of the youths in the region, particularly in Imo State by the Nigerian security forces. Why is the Nigerian army patrolling in our villages? The silent genocide of Igbo youth in the region, which started during the Muhammadu Buhari regime, has been sustained in current Buhari Tinubu's government. Why the hate? Nigerian soldiers and police are the real terrorists terrorizing in Ndibo and making the region unsafe. The statement reads in part. Let me pause here and give a brief analysis on this, before I continue. I am happy that at least for the first time in a very long while, the IPOB are not coming out to tackle Simon Èkpá. In fact, if we are being truthful, they are speaking in line with what the Prime Minister Simon Èkpá has been saying all this while. Now, my big question is, why is it a big problem for this IPOB to swallow their pride? One, beg Simon Èkpá join hands, since this whole thing, was carried on by Nnamdi Kanu. Simon Èkpá started carrying it the right way Nnamdi Kanu wanted it. And the IPOB DOS came and started fighting Èkpá. So why can't, now they have identified the problem. In fact, the best way of defeating, your enemy is identifying your enemy, knowing who you're going against. That is the first step. You have identified the problem. Now, why don't you join hands and fight the same way the Prime Minister Simon Èkpá has been doing to defend his people? He is doing the needful. He has identified this a very long time ago. These same people came and they started castigating Simon Èkpá. Hey, he's the one that is causing insecurity in the land. He is doing this and he's doing that. And they said a lot of trash against him. Now, you're now coming out to say that same thing. The whole thing is clear. We are seeing video footage of Nigerian army going into Orlu region and every other regions in southeastern part of the country. Although it's just like the major place, it has actually been their major zone They go, they pick people, they buy innocent people on daily basis, and nobody is saying anything about it. So why can't you swallow your pride for the sake of your people to fight this common enemy that you have, that you have actually identified? It is beyond just identifying it, because it is not stopping them. They will still keep on doing what they have been doing. They will still keep on doing what they have been doing, because their primary purpose is to make sure they clear every Igbo person. They Islamize, they take over the land, just the same way they've taken over other states. We're just hearing what is happening in Nasarawa State. We're hearing what is happening in Nasarawa State. Do not forget the one that happened in Benue. Benue governor cried, though nobody did anything about it, because this is their purpose. They want to Islamize the country. I was watching a video, where all the whole terrorist group, bandits, these different groups were having a meeting. I don't hear Hausa or the language they were speaking, but from the translation, this meeting, what they are talking about is that they have come to stay. They have come to stay. That they will take over every part of that northwest. After that they will locate, they will find their way and enter south, which I know it is impossible. They can't come to Biafra land. They cannot, because Biafran land already is well equipped in making sure that they defend their people and their territory. That is the most important thing. But let us continue and round up with what IPOB is saying concerning this issue. They went further. The group noted that Tinubu's government was doing everything to provoke Ndibo to pick up arms in self-defense so that it can unleash a full war on Ndibo, like his kinsmen did between 1967 and 1970. It also added, "We are alerting Igbo governors, Ndibo at home and Ndibo in diaspora, the international communities and human rights organizations to be aware of the silent genocide being perpetrated by the Nigerian government against unarmed civilians in the southeast. IPOB therefore advised Igbo governors to work towards stopping the indiscriminate arrest, extrajudicial execution, and forceful disappearances of Igbo youth in the hands of the security forces." Let me stop it here. Now, IPOB is advising the governors of the extrajudicial killing. The big question is, are the governors, the same Igbo governors that you're telling about the extrajudicial killing, are they not the one giving up their lands to be used by these people? Let me tell you, these people know what they are doing. It's as simple as that. They cannot come now and start telling me that they do not know. They do not know what is happening in their own land. They can never come out and tell me that they do not know what is happening in their own land. The governors know. The governors are aware. And the governors are the ones who are giving, way for these terrorists to take over the land. It's as simple as that. Take me to court, take me anywhere. The reality is what we are seeing. So IPOB coming out to tell the governors of the extrajudicial killing, instead of them to be hitting against the governor for supporting this extrajudicial killing. The people you're talking about in diaspora are already aware. this thing you are saying is actually the wrong move at this point in time. You cannot come out, to identify something that has been identified since. Something that has been, or it has been the only issue the Prime Minister Simon Èkpá has been hitting and clamoring against. And that is why the Biafran Defense Forces are doing the needful. They are doing everything possible to drive away these terrorists in army uniform, terrorizing every community in Biafran land. And we're seeing what is happening. There is a lockdown currently, and that lockdown is against every institution of the Janjaweed of the zoo in Biafran land. We don't see what the promas everywhere, Before we go into another issue, I'm going to play a video, two clips, a very short video, and I want you to watch this video. After this video, then we'll discuss a critical issue concerning the Nigerian government and how they are doing everything possible to annihilate them Biafra.
You know what is happening to the Igbo, an Igbo man. That's why others were asked to go, and then Namdekali is being detained. You know what is happening to the Igbo in Lagos. He is still under detention. Why some people who came out to threaten a particular tribe are moving freely. Now, on the NLC, we had series of NLC presidents in this country. I started working with NLC during the time of Adams Oshomole. I work with Oma. I work with the immediate past one. And they have been organizing protests. They have been kicking against increment of fuel price. They have been fighting for minimum wage. Why should Ajero's own different?
Now the times are different.
I'm coming now.
The times are different. Things that happened before when the other presidents were there are different from now. Even the regimes are different. So you cannot just raise a tribal sentiment.
I'm telling you now that the regime
just raise a
PCs that started from Buhari have passion hatred for the Igbos.
I don't think that is correct.
Actually, you say I should convince you, and I want to convince you. Don't want me to convince you. I'm telling you that what happened in Kanu, where people are carrying flag, had it been that thing happened in Enugu or Umuahia or Inowore, by now there wouldn't have been something like a Southeast. They would have leveled the entire Southeast. Those people that carried flag, had it been that flag, the Igbos never participated in the protest. Had it been that particular flag that was carried in the north, they are carried in the southeast, by now there wouldn't have been something like anything like a southeast. Now, going back to what we are talking about the invitation. Now, watch, this is what happened. That invitation, the first one said, the office is investigating a case of criminal conspiracy, terrorism financing, treasonable felony, subversion and crime, and cyber crime, in which you were mentioned. Talking about Ajero now, in which we are mentioned. Now, that particular invitation was given on the 19th. That was, I think, Monday. And he was asked to report the following day, less than 24 hours. Very strange. NLC president, who was writing an exam. So he wrote to them through the lawyer that, please, can you allow me to finish my exam? I'll come on the 29th. Lo and behold, on the 29th, we were there. Surprisingly, on camera, the head of IRT said there was no petition against you. Nobody accused you of anything. Nobody's even mentioned your name. It's against what was contained in the invitation. That rather, somebody who was occupying an apartment in the NLC building committed act of terrorism, and we're investigating the man. In the course of that, we saw some document relating to an NLC. That's why we invited you. Can you tell us what you know about it? Ajero said, well, thank God that you have stated it correctly. One, that building is not under NLC. That building is built by, I think, Third Fund, according to them. And third firm need to incorporate their money before they will now hand it over to about 500 million naira. Those tenants there are being put into there by the third fund, even before Ajero becomes the NLC president. So the person you are talking about, I don't know him. I don't have his number. I know that there's a bishop there, and I do go there to check some books. That was just it. Then he now talked about NLC minutes. Ajero said it's a public document. Anytime we're having a meeting, people do come. And most of the times after our meeting, they normally upload the minutes to social media. So people have access to the minutes. So he brought out one other document. He did not show Ajero, but he showed Femi Falana. Look at it. So Ajero explained, he said, okay, an Igbo man. That's why others were.
Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said that God will use him to bring Nigeria to its knees. Mazi Èkpá have said that he is an instrument to make sure he end the Uthman Danfodio legacy that the Nigeria is fighting for, that he will end Nigeria. These two. And then how can somebody sit down there and you are deceived that this man that just spoke, that you heard his voice, he has been speaking consistently like this, and Nigeria has been bearing and receiving heavy woto, and they are looking for how to stop him. There's somebody who will deceive you that he is working with Nigeria. Nigeria is paying him. So if that is the way Nigeria want to destroy themselves, paying us to destroy themselves, I volunteer myself. Let them give me money. I have decided to make sure. Since some people have been deceived to say, hey, Nigeria is paying someone to destroy them. I'm going to give Nwada Betty the microphone. You just heard what our Prime Minister said there about Uthman Danfodio and how he has determined to bring an end to the useless legacy of Uthman Danfodio, the legacy of murder, legacy of bloodshed. Will bring it to an end and will establish Biafra. Because with the establishment of Biafra, there will be nothing like Uthman Danfodio, whatever nonsense. Please, Ada Biafra, carry on. Oh, hold on. I think I muted from this end. Okay, Ada Biafra.
Am I coming out?
Loud and clear, yeah.
Okay. My brothers and sisters.
My minister is here. I didn't even know that Minister Sonny is there. Okay, Ada Biafra, lay your foundation.
Yeah, let him go ahead. Yeah.
No. The video that Minister will talk on is the cassock. I don't know if Minister, you heard the cassock. You have not given your own.
Okay. Submission
on how our Prime Minister suddenly becomes, the Bible says that God is Jehovah. Jehovah is the self-becoming one. He becomes everything. So Jehovah himself can anoint his servant to also become everything. You see Kasok with anointed cap and he declares a thing and it comes to pass. I don't know what you have to say about that, Minister.
Minister 555 said something before. When Gideon was selected, those that will go for the war, they were given a test. And those that were able to pass the test are those that happened to go for the war. So, all the people that gathered like dust, when the wind blew, that was when you were able to identify them in their real sense, that they were really dust. There were no stones, there were no rocks that could stand their ground, because breeze no dey fit carry rock. Breeze can only carry dust. What prophecy or pronouncement did the Prime Minister did when he was in his bishop suit that did not come to pass? The 28 that they were shouting about, did the 28 not come? and the fulfillment of 28 not exemplifying itself today, the pronouncement of that 28, that day will be no more. It has happened. And they are no more today. We can't even see them. You see, many of them are speaking from Nigeria now. Many of them are speaking from Nigeria. That is how degrading they have become, because they can't even stay in the far abroad country again to speak. Someone that said he's fighting Nigeria went to Nigeria, and Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, Nigerian Navy, and Nigerian Police are the ones guarding him, escorting him from point A to point Z. No wonder they said they had political career in Nigeria. So, like they were deceiving people and they were on top of the mountain, the pronouncement of the Bishop of Biafra was that he will bring them down from the top of that mountain, down to the bottom, from top to bottom.
From top to bottom. Top to bottom. Top to bottom.
They came down and shattered. Today, who is talking about IPOB in Nigeria? I just wish that 7,000 teeth, Methuselah, he came Kauragu, and what was the other one? The other rat that was here before that spoke the first time. And many of them,
is it
Methuselah.
I wish all of them can just go and sit down and rewind the CD, watch the movie, and see how things have been since when MNK was kidnapped, the kind of role that they were playing, what they did to, even when MNK is coming to court, even when we enacted civil disobedience, and what their reactions were, when we said boycott all boycottables, and even when we said there will be no elections in Biafra land. They made efforts to sabotage the one in Anambra and collected money and sent some innocent people to go and vote, and some of them were killed. Then Soludo came out and said he has been having meeting with them prior to his inauguration. He opened his mouth and confessed and said that they are ready to sell over the ESN, the IPOB, to him so that he will give them some money and they will become amnesty. You can imagine the IPOB in Nigeria. So now, remove the Prime Minister, Simon Èkpá, from the scene now, and then look at what Biafra issue or Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's name would have been today. And then look at what our faith would have become as Biafrans. You see, now is where you can sit down and then determine and tell how many people died from the beginning of this month that passed to the end of the month. And when you check, you see that recently in Zamfara State, over 250 were slaughtered in broad daylight by Fulani terrorists, where they say they have a Senate president, they have a governor, they have ministers, and they have senators coming from their places. And they have police, they have Air Force, they have army, they have traditional rulers, they have all sorts of things. These are what would have been the case of Biafrans in Biafra land if we were still in the hands of IPOB Nigeria. But with the Prime Minister, he identified the problem. The problem of Biafra, the problem of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was not actually one Nigeria that led. It was the lukewarms that were surrounding Onyendo in IPOB. So the Prime Minister had to do what? To figure out first and foremost and to remove them. Removing them means destroying them, blow them off. When you blow them off, finish before we now start to put things right. So I want them to go and check from that 28 that they were clamoring, coming down to today, what is their fate? Have they not been destroyed? The only thing that you can hear now people talk about is Biafra governance. Biafra Republic government in Nigeria, Simon Èkpá. They say Simon Èkpá is not a member of IPO. They say Simon Èkpá is not an old member. They say Simon Èkpá is not this and that. But it is Simon Èkpá that is negotiating with the international community. It's Simon Èkpá that is talking for Biafrans. Nobody knows you, 7,000 teeth. Nobody knows again. He said he has resigned. Have you ever heard of somebody say, I have resigned in freedom fighting? Have you ever heard of somebody say, I have resigned in freedom fighting? That means you were not fighting for freedom. You were on a contract. So maybe you have resigned on your contract. So you were working for one Nigeria, and you have seen that your bottle has been blown up. So you say, I have resigned. So that you can go and continue your political career. Hey, we ain't do so far. But we thank God that God gave us the finisher that has come to finish the legacy of Güñmen and Folio. I salute all of you. They were my minister from here.
They were.